Comes out your son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat. Comes out your son. You burn the swine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money, never, money, never, money, never, money, I know what you're gonna be. Money, never, money, never, money, you can keep your conniving money. When you've been a corrupt, you have been tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, you have been tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money never, money never, money never, money. Now don't want you conniving money. Neighbor, joker. Neighbor, joker. Neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk. I said money never, money never, money never, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Beep. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork, and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, poor people governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
It's the PNCR fundraising bingo on Sunday, the 27th of October at Congress Place of Fire from 2 p.m. Over $5 million to be won. There will be 20 straight games at $100,000 per game. 3 letter games at $200,000 per game. 3 coverall games at $1 million per game. Tickets are $6,000. 1 ticket gets you 6 playing cards. Remember, it's the PNCR Big Fundraising Bingo on Sunday, the 27th of October at Congress Place of Fire from 2 p.m.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent a hall. You can rent a hall, honey. You can rent a hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, you know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. This is, Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you.
The fire burning red and the Joshua representing of a comes audience. Big up Kidaki, Buxton massive. Hey Babylon boy, you going like in a like come son. Red.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. Morning, everyone. Morning, everyone. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your hope. Yeah, I am your hope. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Who's this? Good morning, or may I help you? You know it's not a calling time as yet, right? Good morning, it's not a calling time as yet. Yes, I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. How you been? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? How you getting through this morning? Have you been able to set simple goals or smart goals, and how have you been achieving those goals? How things looking for you? Well, I know a lot of you are celebrating this morning because Don's president has amended his parliamentary promise. So it's no longer $200,000 per household. It's now $100,000 per adult. Every adult or every citizen age 18 and older will now get $100,000 and they only got to provide the ID card and so to get it. While the Don's president telling us that he came to that position because of outreaches and interaction with Guyanese youths and so on and so forth, I will say to you two things. First and foremost, it's my firm belief that he listens, or they listen, as we know, to GAMS TV. And they also get free advice from Winston Jordan. Because since they're not capable of doing the analysis, Jordan does it for them on GAMS TV. So they're getting free advice from GAMS TV and Mr. Winston Jordan, former finance minister. The other thing I want to note is, since they're about vote buying, and these measures are intended to buy votes.
A basic food
Right? And these measures are intended to buy votes.
basket.
They have decided that, hey, if we take a household approach, many of the youths are not going to get reached. We are not going to reach them with this vote buying scheme because many of the youths don't have households. They're not head of households. And so they will be angry at us because they make up the majority of the voting population. They will be angry at us. And so we can't influence them with our money if we go household way. So, all right, let's amend it because Mr. Jordan has given us sound advice. And he has made his case for the individual grant. And when we do that, we're going to also get to reach them young people and influence them with our $100,000. Some of them never hold $100,000 in their life because things are so hard in this country. So let us make them sing our praises. And to back up my contention that they were taking free advice from Mr. Jordan on GAMS TV, listen to this clip from last Thursday's presentation.
To be distributed at health centers and old people homes.
I'm trying to get to my full screen. Giving me a little challenge, but yeah,
So that you will toddlers and babies, pensioners, disabled, and so forth. That a typical representative basket of goods can be assembled and be distributed health centers and old people homes and so forth once a quarter. Because monthly might be very difficult, but once a quarter. We've got in a bit of rice and cooking oil, soap, toilet paper, you know, some beans, you know, sugar, flour, baby products, baby wipes, pampers, just to assist. We have a lot of money and we can do this. I hope, against hope, that there will be an announcement of a generous wage increase. I say hope against hope because I think public servants are resigned to their fate. That since teachers were offered 10%, that they will get no more than 10% this year. I think they are resigned to their fate. But more can be done, but I don't think it will happen. But as I said, where there's life, there's hope. I think this year, and every year subsequently, but since this is the speech for this year, that the president will announce a one-off salary, just like the discipline services, to every public servant. But since this would exclude private sector workers who also contribute to taxes and are entitled, instead of the one-off tax-free bonus, then a cash grant of $100,000 be awarded to everybody except all those who would have been recipients of cash grants during the year. So $100,000 can be given to everyone on the tax payroll, perhaps, or however they want to do it, as a cash grant. So to make certain that private sector workers also benefit, because when you're given one-off tax-free bonus salary, only public servants get it. And that is to, I'm sure it infuriates private sector workers or the self-employed workers. So we have to have something that is all-inclusive and all-encompassing, all-embracing. So I hope that we will be able to announce a cash grant of $100,000 to all adults except all those who would have received already cash grants during the year for whatever reason.
Say you heard it first on Camps TV. It was the 10th of October, the morning when the Don's president was heading to Parliament to make his presentation. Those were the proposals, or a snippet of the proposals that Mr. Winston Jordan was making here on Camps TV. So we're winning. We are in the opposition, but we are formulating policies to benefit the people. And the PPP has no choice but to borrow those policies because they are sound. Professor Clive Thomas suggested direct cash transfers. They adopted that. Winston Jordan suggested that it be modified from households to individuals. They adopted that. We're in the opposition, we're winning. And citizens ought to take note of the fact that opposition constructed policies are being adopted by this government. And at the end of the day, it is the citizens who are benefiting. So imagine when the opposition is in government. they will have the authority and they will have the direct control of implementing those policies. And so they're likely to bring more benefits to you. For example, just yesterday morning, Professor David Hines, while we were here, Gary Peters, you're having no sound. Is anybody else having that problem? When Professor David Hines was here yesterday, he was doing the math to show where at this point, Guyanese should have been receiving, if you go the household way, I think $256,000 per household, if you were to stick with the formula. So even when they were offering you monies per household, they were shortchanging you. You were being shortchanged. They have adopted the opposition's policies, but they are shortchanging you. If you ask me, I will therefore want to have the opposition in government, the opposition in control of the public purse, so that I will not be shortchanged. Mr. Jordan is on the line. Good morning, Mr. Jordan.
Thanks for that. You're very low, so hard to hear you.
Sorry about that. I know why you weren't hearing me, but you will hear me now. You're hearing me better now, right?
Yeah, you're much better, much better.
Good
morning.
right.
Good morning to you. Good morning to the viewers.
Welcome to the program.
Thursday.
I see, have you sent your invoice to the government in office?
Not yet. I'm in the process of preparing.
Have you requested at least a fraction of Ashley Singh's remuneration?
I'll give him a pass.
Because as it appears, you're doing the work.
I've been doing this for years.
And Ashley getting the pay.
I mean, everybody knows I've been doing it for years. For years I've been doing it. You understand? You know, but before we get into our program proper, I would like to, unfortunately, on the program, recognize and send condolences to the family, relatives, friends again of Wilbert O. Bascom. Do you know that name?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wilbert
O. Bascom was the first general manager of the Ghana National Cooperative Bank.
Oh, yes. I saw the news. He has passed. Yes, I did see the news. Thank you.
Yes, he passed in Florida at age 87. Let me give a quick tidbit about GNCB. See, May the 27th this year would have marked the 54th anniversary of the physical appearance of GNCB, the first ever local commercial bank, which was owned and operated by Guyanese, right? It was a product of the great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum. And GNCB pioneered the growth and development of head office banking, which is different from branch banking, as we know it then, that was practiced by all of those foreign banks at the time. Chase Manhattan Bank, Bank of Nova Scotia, Royal Bank of Canada, Barclays Bank, and latterly Bank of Baroda, right? So they would have all had branches here of their head offices that would have been situated in their mother country, that is Canada, United States, India, and United Kingdom. So GNCB represented the introduction of head office banking in Guyana, right? And it was in the morning of May the 27th, 1970, that the GNCB set up headquarters at the corner of Lombard and Cornell Streets, which is perhaps still familiarly known as Donkey City, and opened its main branch and head office there to the public. It quickly became known as the People's Bank. You know, GNCB was one of 5 institutions in the financial sector, domestic pioneering, groundbreaking institutions in the financial sector that was set up by the PNC government led by Lyndon Forbes Sampson Borno at the time to support economic and financial progress in the country, because those branch banks that we had here, they never used to want to even lend to certain categories of people and certain types of economic activities, such as agriculture and so forth. And when the PNC then was pushing the housing program, pushing the agricultural sector, pushing the nascent industrial sector and so forth, they could not have relied on those branches of foreign banks to assist. So Bono made a bold step of establishing various institutions in the financial sector to help with this drive. So in addition to GNCB, we also had GNCB Trust, right, which was situated in Middle Street, right? The building is still there. I think GNCB Trust sign is still there, but I think it was sold by the PPP government, as indeed GNCB was sold. GNCB Trust was sold, I think, to hand in hand, I believe, and I think mostly or mainly hand in hand. Then we had the Guyana Cooperative Mortgage Finance Bank, which was established to assist lending the housing sector for the small man, because I think at the time when it was set up, I believe the maximum that you could have borrowed at that time was 50,000 Guyana dollars to build your house. And the GNCB Trust was established for the middle and upper income. So if you wanted a loan in excess of 50,000, you had to go to the GNCB Trust to get that loan. And then we also had Guy Bank, Guyana Cooperative Agricultural and Industrial Development Bank. Guy Bank was established, its headquarters was at Parade and Barrack Street. That building, I believe, has been pulled down subsequently. But again, Guy Bank was closed under the PPP, and some of its assets transferred to the GNCB at the time, which subsequently was then sold to the Republic Bank of Trinidad. And we had NIS, the only institution that is surviving under government control, the National Insurance Scheme. And I think the last institution to be set up was the GCIS, the Guyana Cooperative Insurance Scheme, or its service, that was set up to conduct same services as the likes of the hand-in-hand, GTM, and all of those. GCIS still exists, but it's owned, I believe, by somebody else. I think it must be hand-in-hand also. That owns the GCIS. All of these institutions, with the exception of NS, they were either dissolved or sold under the PPP government. So, in essence, then you had the master building, and then the PPP destroyed, essentially.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Go ahead. I assume you're closing off on the banking business here, but let me ask you this. Many of us were disappointed and aggravated and vexed and everything when GNCB was sold to Republic Bank. Do you think that sale was justified?
Well, at the time, the government was under some pressure from the IMF to get out of what is called business that is not their business, essentially, which is the IMF doctrine sees these things as belonging to the private sector, and that the government must be regulator and perform oversight duties, but must not get involved. And some of the performance of many of the corporations that government formed or took over and formed them into corporations did not perform as well as you would have liked. And when you have monsters like Gaisuku and Guy Mine and all of these not returning profits on a consistent basis and have to depend on the treasury for the survival, I don't think it's a situation that can continue forever. And the fact that it is continuing, say, in the case of, say, Gaisuku, is due largely to oil, right? So a lot of the oil resources are now being diverted to an industry that is, for all intents and purposes, dead, right? I heard somebody saying, I think it was yesterday, that we might be importing canes from Brazil,
Yes,
to feed the factory because we don't have enough canes. I don't know how accurate that is.
I was so informed.
Right? But it based on the performance of Gaisuku in the first half, right? I would imagine that such a situation could exist. Although of course I'm not sure how the canes would be getting from Brazil to factories way down in Borbis. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, you would have seen physical evidence of that. They can't fly in such canes and so forth. But yes, so we were under the pump with the IMF program and so forth, and therefore there was not much that they could have done, especially if we wanted to gain access to resources under the various debt relief programs that were made available at the time. Right? They didn't come cheap and they didn't come easy and they didn't come free. So maybe at the time that decision was more or less made for you, as opposed to you having any rearguard action where that was concerned. So yeah, so I thought I would have before, because a lot of me made about cash grant and cash grant, and sometimes these little tidbits are important to keep our audience informed and let them know from whence we came. And also to continue in a small way as we can in highlighting some of the progress that was made under the previous administration of the PNC and how that progress can return. How that progress can return in a united opposition that is bent on going down the same particular road, right? Of establishing your institutions, economic performances and progress and so on. So I think that was a bit and so Bascom provided the entree for me to give that little tidbit on the GNCB. I hope those who worked and so on and were associated with GNCB felt a feeling of nostalgia on the live and hearing that. Right, so on to our topic of the day. I had to laugh. I had to laugh, I had to laugh because to see where the government has reached compared to what they were putting out, their violent opposition to cash transfers and so forth, to see where they are today and see the artful dodging, not to give acknowledgement and recognition, right? The lengths to which they're going not to give acknowledgement and recognition to where these things originated, is to make Fred Astaire himself look clumsy, compared to the dances that they are doing to avoid the acknowledgement. But I'm glad that you played that clip just now, because a lot of people don't realize that it is on your program that $100,000 cash grant was announced, disclosed, recommended, whatever. And that was done early morning before Ali went to the parliament to present his epistle. So by the time he would have made his announcement of the $200,000, we had already put out there $100,000 for each individual, each adult Guyanese citizen resident here in Guyana, for them to get that 100,000. And why, even at that early stage, we were saying that is because of all the disgust with the distribution of the COVID cash grant. And And up to this day, the bitterness that it created, and up to this day, the pink slips that people will put in your face and wave it, that they still have. And all the accusations of discrimination and so forth. It had to be a bit hurtful to see that of the pink slip holders, a large percentage being Guyanese of African descent, right? And which in their minds and in their perception gave credence to their contention that they were being discriminated against. Especially when they pointed fingers at persons using different ruses and guises, got 2 and 3 and 4 different COVID cash grants, while they got none. You understand? And of course, even with the $25,000 given to the so-called head of household, because there was no announced definition of household at the time, or none that was made available or announced or made public, those who within a household and had to depend on the largest of the recipient of the 25,000 cash grant, they themselves were embittered, right? Whether either at the amount that they got out of the 25,000, which would have been zero to whatever else they got. But it created a situation that didn't lend to unity and perhaps defeated the whole purpose of the cash grant, right? So that's why I said, listen, people are adults. Adults like their independence. I mean, there are situations when they have to become dependent, but generally everybody likes independence. Okay? And therefore, that is what we should be pushing. The independence of the individual who can then coalesce into a cooperative entity subsequently. Right? And cooperative suggests that each one of us put something in the pot. So all of those ideas I cogitated with before I came up with my 100,000. But in the event he came up with the 200,000, he announced 200,000. It was perhaps too late to change the speech, right? And he mentioned 200,000 to households. And immediately it sparked a fiery debate as to who was the household. Going right back to the COVID problems and so forth. It sparked a fiery debate about who was the household and so forth, right? And let me show you some of this Fred Astaire dancing as to not to recognize who was the origin of the 100,000. Our viewers and our supporters and everybody knows where it originated, right? Because it was subsequently fleshed out on the Nation Watch program on Sunday. I did that on Nation Watch program on Sunday. And I think they might have been persuaded at that time that, look, this is the way to go. Because not only did I put it out there, I put what would be the advantages of going down this road. Advantages that cut across the household themselves and went right down to national. But this is what Ali said in his speech yesterday. He says, over the past week, thousands of Guyanese have engaged myself and members of my cabinet on the speech that he made and on the measures, and in particular the cash grant. Right? That is kind of summarizing what he says. And then he says, over the past few days, right? I can quote this now, quote, over the past few days, right? We remember he making this speech yesterday, right? So he's saying over the past few days, which is a few days going back, government observed a rush to transfer utility meters and also prepared tenancy agreements and so on, right? You remember that part he said?
Yes.
And then he said, re-examining the previous measure, that's the 200,000, with the aim of expanding benefits. He said that last week Friday. So imagine, hold on, let me put it in context. He says over the past week, thousands of Guyanese have engaged him and his members on the cash grant and the whatever measures. And then he said over the past few days, there have been this absorbance of people doing, meters, trying to transform meters and prepaid agreements and so on. Right? All this is happening over the past few days and so on. But yet still, the president in his speech says that last Friday, he asked for a reconsideration. This speech of the president was made on Thursday afternoon, Thursday midday going into the afternoon. And the next day, because the next day was the Friday, he asked his people to re-examine. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes.
How could he have been able to put together all of these observances, which occurred after Friday? The day that he was asking his advisors and whoever else, and the Ministry of Finance or whoever else, to reconsider the 200,000 household proposal into this 100,000. How could that have happened? It could not have happened, but it's the lengths to which they are going to avoid acknowledging the source. It didn't cost them anything to acknowledge the source, but it's the lengths to which, in the first place, they failed to acknowledge Professor Clive Thomas as the originator of the idea of cash grants to households, albeit in a sustainable, perpetual manner, as opposed to one-off that they did. They failed to acknowledge that on the very day that they were announcing a cash transfer, that it had already been put in the public's mind that very morning. And that liking what he heard and liking the explanation, the very next day, the Friday, he asked his people to examine that proposal and see its efficacy, its beneficial, its benefits and so on. Oh, but he said no. But you're going around tortuously telling him about how over the last couple of days you observe all these things. And yet still you did not come out yesterday and said, you have asked your people in light of this, you have asked them to re-examine the 200,000. You had already asked them last week, Friday, which is the very next day after you would have made the speech. Which meant you would have heard about the 100,000 proposal that was made that very morning. All we have to do, my brother, you the big man, you the head of this country. You're the head of the household called Guyana. All you have to acknowledge that you're happy that it came, is happy that something was put there and allow you to take. But all of this would not have occurred, as you well know, if we had indicated that a studied approach to the issue of cash transfers would have been done. And that is why we knew that this was a knee-jerk reaction to what was taking place in the economy. But okay, let us say all that is water under the bridge. Let us say that is water on the bridge. Let us give them props for coming around to number one, the issue of cash transfer. Let us give them props for being able to take on board all the messaging and the criticisms and so on as it related to households, and to coming around to another opposition recommendation that was put out there in relation to others. Let us give them props for that, and let us move on. But the problem with the announcement yesterday, has several issues and implications for what was said what wasn't said and what is implied. Let us look at this whole business of eligibility. Who is eligible? He says every Guyanese 18 and over at 4th January 2024. Now, I have a problem with the 4th of January 2024. If the cash grant was meant to attenuate the cost of living issues that people have gone through for the entire 2024, why are you denying 18-year-old adults from benefiting from this cash grant in 2024? Why you go to 4th January 2024 and not 31st of December 2024? There's a whole set of adult youth, if you want to call them, 18 years, who are going to be exempted from this cash transfer. And then you say you like youths? Mr. President, please change this thing to 31st of December 2024. All those who are at age 18 on 31st day of 2024. 4th of January 2024 will not cut it. Because 2024 is when people have gone through horrendous cost of living problems and issues and price spirals and so on. So they're not going to be rewarded in any way. This is a huge error, a huge blunder, and the opposition must, in no uncertain terms, make it known that this will not cut mustard. That 4th of January cutoff date will not cut mustard. Change it. Secondly, he says the objective of the cash transfer is to, quote, increase disposable income to create better opportunities and building prosperity for Guyanese. So here's the problem. How then you could say this cash transfer will target every Guyanese? It's missing an adjective. It must target every resident Guyanese. Because how can it target every Guyanese? The people who live in Iceland? The Guyanese who live in Iceland? Those who live in Japan? Those who live in the United States? Well, you know that probably more than they're probably more than
the population here.
Those who live in Suriname, Venezuela. I mean, what is this that what is this with this thing about every Guyanese? You have to make this thing very clear. There's no implied or anything. You have to make it explicit. The cash transfer will target adult Guyanese residents. I have got 2 messages, cheekily, asking whether the government is prepared to wire the 100,000 to them. That's what you will get. And I saw a friend that I know, Sizwe Jackson, who had on his Facebook, it's going to be every Guyanese because the president didn't say resident. And I realized, and I went back to his speech, and I realized he did not say resident Guyanese. What is the president playing with? You have to make it explicit that you are speaking about Guyanese resident. Now, who's a resident Guyanese? A resident Guyanese is a Guyanese whose permanent residence is in Guyana and who has been living in Guyana for at least 183 days every year. That's who is the Guyanese resident. If you don't put in that adjective resident Guyanese, you are going to open yourself to serious issues as it relates to who really can access this transfer. And which there is a related issue to this. When he announced the 200,000, when he had announced the 200,000 for 300,000 households, he said it would cost 60 billion. Yesterday, he was unprepared to say how much this new proposal will cost. Beyond saying it will cost us more. But how do you know it will cost us more? Because listen carefully. You have one important variable, 100,000. The second one, you should also have known how many you're targeting. But he did not say yesterday how many adult Guyanese are being targeted for the $100,000. And therefore, how much will it cost us? Where is the president going with this? On the contrary, my 100,000 targets roughly 600,000 adult Guyanese residents in Guyana for the same 60 billion. So it doesn't cost a penny more. For the same 60 billion. And my targeting 600,000 is the top end of the figure. Because how did I come about this? If you go back to the 2020 election, they said 500-something thousand people voted in that election. And we all know that election was marred by dead people voting, overseas people voting triple and quadruple times. We know that some people have more than one ID card. We are aware that people were seen distributing ID cards on election day, and so forth. So the figure of 500-something thousand that voted got in a lot of people who were part of the shenanigans of dead people and people who voted overseas, even though they were overseas, all these kinds of things. In addition, of course, the 500,000+ people who voted in 2010 would have contained Commonwealth citizens. That figure would have contained Commonwealth citizens who would have been eligible to vote in our elections. So when you clean out all of those, and you add back all those people who have become 18 and over since the last cutoff date of the election, you should get back somewhere around 500-something thousand, top it up at 600,000. Given each person $100,000, get back to your 60 billion. So where, and at 600,000, let me tell you, the 600,000 Guyanese residents, plus another, I think, 200-something thousand school children or under 18, we call all them under 18, from first born to under 18, another 200-something. That will put us to roughly 900,000 near about there, 900,000 Guyanese residents. And when you add in all the foreigners and so on, you're likely to get a population approaching 1 million. The question is, in the absence of the census, every one of us can guess, but are we likely to see a census that comes out that says we got over 1 million people in Guyana? When you consider how many households we have had going way back to the 1970s, coming right up to the last census before this one year, I don't want to say it's an implausibility. I don't know what the census has, it roughly gives the impression that the census has 264,000 households. I don't know what is the size of a household. Previously, it was about 3.3. But if you use that same 3.3, we're looking at close to a million people. If it's less than that, because people, I don't know, making children and all this kind of thing appear to be dropping and so on. I mean, if you go to 265, 318, that will carry us roughly back to 700 something thousand. If it's 3.3, probably 800 something thousand, right? So 600,000 adult resident Guyanese is a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch. But you put it out there. The fact of the matter is that the 60 billion that they said initially that it would have cost the 200,000, this 100,000 wouldn't bust the budget, while clearing away a lot of the problems that would have been involved if you went the households aspect of it, But I can't understand how you're going to have a moving target in terms. You don't know the numbers of adults who will benefit from this cash grant of 100,000, and hence you don't know how much it will cost. And if you don't know how much it will cost, how can you announce the proposal? Because you don't know whether you have the money. You would have thought that they would have identified a sum of money that they can set aside for this cash transfer. And that this sum of money that they would have identified would have come from their informed calculation of how many adults they are targeting. And they would have come to that target figure since they have access to the latest census. Because the latest census will also tell you how many males and how many females in the country. And they would have had access to the updated, quote-unquote, National Register of Registrants, or GCOM. They would have had all this information that would have helped them to collate and compress and come to an indicative figure of how many adults we are targeting. But to allow Ali to come yesterday again, because when he came on Thursday, they still did not know how many households there were. Jagdo said that the census said 264,000 households, but there were some floating set of households around there, and therefore you rounded it off to 300,000. I mean, you don't expect these things. You don't expect these things to be, to be made by policy people who are announcing a major policy shift in the country. You don't expect these guesstimates and all these kind of things, especially when they are the keepers of the information. You expect the opposition to be guessing because there's not much information out there, but not the government, who are the keepers of them, who have access to all this information and so on. So now to tell me it's going to cost more. How much more is going to cost? Because we already know at least one figure, 100,000. How much more will it cost? Where is the money coming from? Because if you originally had 60 billion, and now you say it's going to cost more, but you're going to make that sacrifice, where is the extra amount coming from? How much is the extra amount? And does this all beg the question? When the teachers were on their knees, begging and pleading for a little bit more, you told them no more. You have no more fiscal space, right? Those two words that are perhaps will win the Guyana Nobel Prize by the end of this year. Fiscal space, you told them, and therefore we could not give you more than the 10%. And the teachers' union caved in, believing that to be so. So how did you get 60 billion plus more to come to do this transaction, this $100,000 transaction. The teachers must feel aggrieved at this turn of events. You know, they must feel aggrieved at this turn of events. Now, however, even of course you can't please everybody. Some quote unquote households would have been looking for the 200,000, and clearly these would have been small households, maybe a person and his dog, cat, canary, whatever. But on the other side, large households, which are familiar in Guyana, and especially in the countryside, would have been peeved that they would have been counted as one household and only get 200,000. So with this shift to 100,000, large households will be smiling, right? Because a household of 10 now gets $1 million, while a household of 1 gets $100,000 instead of 200. But ultimately, in my book, it works fine. It works better, and so forth.
But I'm hearing complaints from the small households already. Continue.
Yes. But so on David's program last night, he was using an example which I saw used by Peeping Tom on Tuesday, I think it was, that the issue of equity. Let's deal with that. Equity. And to deal with this issue, they're arguing, what about this single mother with 5 children? Now, I don't know how many single mothers with 5 children they got. So I know they got a lot of single mothers and single fathers too. With 5 children, yes, but how many? And so that single mother would have got 200,000 out of the household compared to now getting 100,000. And then they juxtapose that with a household now, let us say with 5 adults, they would have only got 200,000. But they're leaning on the side of the single parent with the 5 children compared with the 5 adults in the other household. But there are so many flaws in that argument. Why on the one hand you have a single household with a single parent with 5 children and not a household with 5 adults and no children? In these 5 adults, there are no children. So you want to bring situation to skew your analysis. On average, if there are 5 adults in a household, you will get at least a minimum of, let us say, 5 children. And that's giving 1 child to each one of them. But you can expect in a 5 adult household, anyway, upwards of 10, 15 children in that place. But that would not have been taken into consideration when you deal with the household.
Mr. Jordan.
So you would have $200,000 having to be shared among 5 households plus 10 or 15 children.
Mr. Jordan, you know, as I like to say, I like to be the devil's advocate. Right now, I have a 5 adult household with no children.
Yes, but you might be the aberration.
The outlier.
You might be the outlier.
I agree.
You might be the outlier.
I agree.
And that in any case, your 5-person household, all adults, would only get $200,000 under the previous arrangement.
True.
So there's an average of $40,000 each one of them. And we only use an average here because we don't know if the head of that household was willing to share any money with you. We don't know that because you know when money involves, it is suddenly me money because it was given to me.
What's
And
mine is mine. What's yours is ours.
What exactly? You understand? So there's no guarantee that you would have got anything. 5-person household, all adults from the head of the household who got the 200,000, and they might have generously given you what we call a frick, right? And you would have not been comfortable with the frick, but you'll have to take it because what are you gonna do? You're gonna fight your brother or something. But now that you get $500,000. $500,000. This single mother household that we're talking about, that we're trying to play bleeding heart with, that will get the 100,000. Let us see if we could add some flesh onto that. If they got 5 school-age children, they would have got all in the year a Because We Care grant. I don't know how much is it now. I think it's 45,000. So 45 times 5, that will make it 225,000. Because I think it's 40 plus 5,000 for uniform or something. So they would have got 225,000 all in the year. Right? With the 5 children.
Yes.
Then, if they're still in difficult circumstance, there is a program that was initiated under the coalition government and the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. I believe the program is still there. It is called the Difficult Circumstances Program, where if people are in very difficult circumstances, they can go there and present their case. But the important thing, though, I think that has been raised here is that, hello?
Yeah, I'm here. We're listening.
Right. The important thing that we raise here is the whole issue of a comprehensive social protection framework. That a one-off cash grant will not cut mustard. A cash grant, an annual cash grant, must be supplemented by other social protection initiatives, such as free transportation for all school children, a minimum of 2 nutritious meals for the children, a quarterly, like I suggested, a quarterly basket of necessary goods distributed to these people in difficult circumstances, distributed at the health centers, distributed at the poor people homes, and so on. We have to expand the social protection framework. We cannot see, and we must not see, a one-off cash grant as solving the problems. We cannot do that. And ultimately, to lift people out of poverty, they must be able to get self-sustaining jobs. These are handouts. They're not jobs. These are at the beck and call of the government. They're not jobs. So the person with 5 children, who on average may not have, qualifications, experience, tech work, and so on, we have to guide that person also in the direction where they will take the available opportunities to upgrade themselves so that they can become eligible for permanent jobs. Too many of them are involved in security in where and the unfortunate thing in Guyana is a large numbers of our women can be seen walking the road at all manner of hours in the night. Say, but they're doing security work. While their infants and their children are left to the mercy of Tiberius. And so we perpetuating a cycle of poverty, intergenerational poverty. That is what we are doing. We have to be very clear because we are conflating the discussion between this one-off cash grant and the Thomas's model of a sustainable cash grant. We can't conflate the two. We can't conflate the two. Let us be very clear. Let us accept a win that it would appear that the government has come around to the idea of cash transfer. It would appear. I don't use the word permanent because they have only said a one-off. This, as I said in a previous program, is the same thing they did on the eve of the 2015 election in 2014. They brought the Because We Care cash grant. I remember trying to go through Water Street by National Hardware. There was a Western Union there, and you could see the line. The line gone past the old Sandwich Park, which is now Muniswar, gone all over the place. People going there to cash their voucher and whatever. That is what they are good for. That is what the PPP is good for. And they are setting up. That is why they're gone with only one-off. If they don't win the election next year, that's another person's problem, and they can go out there in the opposition and make brownie points that they were for cash transfer and that it was more permanent than the one-off. If they win, they don't have to continue the cash transfer because they can power for the next 5 years. This is the mojo of this party, and we must say it for what it is. So while we talk about the one-off cash grant and so on, we must not keep our eye off the prize. The prize is that a lot of work got to continue to ensure that a model is presented for a permanent cash transfer as long as they're pumping oil. We have to not take our eye off that prize, and we must not conflate this one-off cash grant. In as much as we accept it with a longer model. So when I put out $100,000 there was some guy who was up on front. There was some guy who was up on front, a teacher guy who was up on front during the strike. I see him on TikTok, and he's saying, while he praising the former Minister of Finance for taking up the 100,000, he wanted to know why I said 100,000, not 200,000, right? And he was scolding me that in negotiations you don't negotiate down, you negotiate up. And I had to shake my head and said, I hope he's a typical representative of teachers and their understanding of things. Because again, I don't quite understand how you could compare household with an individual. The household was being given 200,000. The individual adult now is being given 100,000. That's the first thing. Secondly, I didn't know that this was a negotiation. This wasn't a negotiation. This is the word negotiated anything with the government. you understand? Thirdly, the government gave the impression that they only had 60 billion to give. So you had to work within that framework, so to speak. And fourth, at all times, is the government only who can take financial bills to the parliament. And therefore, you cannot come with an outrageous thing and expect the government to run with it. Perhaps the teachers didn't learn that kind of negotiation themselves because what they were asking for, even though it was doable and everything else, so that, but they did not put out there how it can be sustained, how doable it is, right? So they themselves, he as a teacher and they themselves need to learn the art of negotiation. So we can't go there and pluck figures out of the air. We would like to have $1 million and not 100,000. We would like to have $1 million. But can we afford $1 million? All things possible. $1 million is what we perhaps must get right now. But can we afford it? And when you put it out there, who's going to take you seriously?
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Are you morning? Are you morning? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 30 on the 18th day of October in the year 2024. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to the program. How you been? How was your yesterday? How you passed last night? What did you achieve yesterday? How did you rest last night? How energized are you today to continue the struggles? Every day I'm hustling. Every day I'm hustling. How do you feel about hustling every day? Brick by brick by brick by brick. Are you building? Are you achieving those smart goals that you set? I hope you are. But if you're not achieving them, or if you challenged your financial goals are challenging you, this morning we're going to be talking about some financing or finances. Right? I like how we're going to talk about what are you going to do with this $100,000 an individual. Okay, it's not household money no more. It's your money. What are we going to do with it? I told a friend when the announcement was made, I said, so all 9 of y'all will live in the house there. 9 adults. It means $900,000 coming to y'all. Y'all got money for fix the leaking roof. So at least each of you could, once you get the estimate for the roof, each of you can contribute a part of the cost of doing the roof. He said, the roof don't leak over my bedroom. That was his response to me. The roof doesn't leak over my bedroom. What does that say? Right? If you make that suggestion and somebody tells you that the roof doesn't leak over my bedroom, how will you deal with that? The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. We're going to get a long talk. It's free talk morning. Right? You going to talk and I going to talk back. But I want to address, for starters, Dexter Luther. Right? Dexter Luther. I see Dexter Luther asking Mr. Jordan if he wasn't aware of all of these problems while he was Minister of Finance. I'm not sure what the problems are Dexter is talking about, but if Dexter can identify the problems, maybe I'll be able to help him address that issue. That's for starters. Good. I see somebody else, definitely one of them who in Canada or the UK. Nadira, what you guys do for the people in Ghana for the 5 years? I assume for the 5 years you were in power or in office. Raise everything. Thankful Guyanese getting money. Nadira Ramcharan, I want you to tell me where you live. Where do you live, Nadira? I seriously want to know where you live. Y'all remind me to come back to Nadira. I'm taking this call. Call you on.
Good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. Happy Friday. First of all, we're going to get there. Let me answer Nadira. What I'm fully done in Manjipo, forget all $100,000. Let me say to Nadira too. That Cody girl was said, promo gas. Let's say, Cody girl, what she was doing for promo gas, well, for class what? That is what we supposed to stand up. That's why when we ask David if he agree with Flat Garden that all the male born Guyanese must, I'm not trying to cut your program, what the program based on, but we must respond to them. And this including Mr. David, when I asked the question, if he would agree that all male in Guyana must serve the country, he said, well, to me understanding, no, we're not take part about that yet. But this is what we got to live with. Black people don't know about money. My God. Anyway, let me move on and see what I want to say this morning. Mr. David, I was saying, always blaming PNC. I always use the word PNC. Oh, PNC did not take what WPA say. Because maybe WPA is a small party and not recognized. Let me say, stick a pin. It think a big party and little party. It think a big sin and sin. Because if you kill a big cow and me kill ants, both of we have to be in the same line, killing line for judgment. It was not a PNC was ruling the country from 2015. It was a coalition party. So do not beat up on PNC by PNC did not accept and put things in place. It was a coalition. You have to beat up on all the coalition leaders. It was a leader from PNC party who was leading the coalition. But you cannot beat up on PNC, no. It's not because Flat Garden have first grade degree. Make Flat Garden, he know what he's saying. Next to correct too. Mr. David, are you still there?
Yes.
Good. Mr. David always beat up on Abby. Abby, you always tell people to take the money and don't have to vote and all these things. But Abby was telling them plain, when they come and give her your money, take it. And he had no way to vote because they call him a fool. And you got to show them that, hey, we black people are not fool. You're a fool. Abby said, take the money belongs to you. Because if you don't take it, they're going to thief it. But today, you're going to, if David and Nigel, you're going to tell them, don't take the $100,000, don't take the money, wait until we go in office. You see how we just like to explain wrong things to people? Because we all coming back now. We got to still take the money when they give it, but we know that, hey, that people are not a fool. If we was fool in the past, we're not fool in the present. This is what I say I would explain next Wednesday, but I cannot wait till next Wednesday. I will give you a chance for tell Flat Garden, wrap up caller, wrap up. Let my black brother and sister understand Flat Garden clearly. We said walk away from CCJ because we all talking about the Cody people company, Brent and Darling sugar thing, and we don't have no benefits. We can't get sugar and all this nonsense in Guyana. Now the two leaders said, Nigel Hughes and Mr. David said, no, we're not going to, we move from CCJ. We come along with them and so forth and so forth. But we're going to pump in money in CCJ and we can't get benefit. We ain't get no benefit. You see, nothing that CCJ rule in black people favor before and present 2020 election. If no other oil company, well, Flat Garden, check it out so far. I see no oil company using a next country to be the last judgment for them country. The last court is in the country, every oil country. Why we into Trinidad not using CCJ? You know the consequence why? And the CCJ building is in Trinidad because they know that they're corrupt and they know they could take money because they got to survive. They have to pay for CCJ. CCJ lift up Guyanese constitution and said, what do you want me to do with this? You want me to eat it or throw the garbage? What? The government has all right to provide money for trouble like this. Yes, the constitution say that. But in impress, he can read out the next part, if you can remember, that if the government know that they cannot hold election in the time span, the wicked only people, Jadio, them have to go back in parliament and give an extension. Jadio said, no, I'm not going inside there and give Granger and his cabinet election. And CCJ do nothing about that. You see? Now, that is why Frank Garden said we should walk away from CCJ. We must walk away from CCJ. Come did. We come to Guyana and tell Guyana, oh, give a count. Do this. And when bring the list to them and do all that, what they told want to do? Kick us. Vincent used the word and said plain. Let black people take the list as man. I know you see that video and you hear that. But when illegal boss said he run, the man from Trinidad come and tell the president, the prime minister come and tell the president, hey, step down with dignity. That there will always be a next election. Like if he know or he knew that David Granger
Flash Gordon,
next. Pardon me?
I'm trying to really search my mind.
Yes.
Because as far as I remember, the man from Trinidad say he washed his hands of that. He ain't dealing with Guyana politics.
That is when he finished. That is when he finished.
No, sir. Listen. I'm prepared to bunk set with you on that. From day one, Rowley made one visit to Guyana if he did. And he went back, and when they were supposed to send the team, CARICOM team and thing and that, he said not him. You wash his hands of that. Problems there. My interpret, my choice of words.
Okay. When the fact God move on. But he tell Mr. David to step down with dignity. And let there always be a next election. But when was his turn to open a door? Because the Canadian government CARICOM workers to come and overlook our election. But when he to open the door for his election, he said, no way. The Trinidadian people are capable and bright enough to overlook their own election. Move on to Barbados. Barbados came and encouraged Granger to do A, B, and C. When she returned back the second time, I know you could remember these words because we always talk about it. She said, first of all, let me praise my big brother, Jack Dew. If a little baby born and hear what Flat Garden said today, the little baby said, hey, we should ban her from coming back because of disrespect. And again, she said, the truth is odd. What truth odd? Yes, black people in Guyana was did win election or go for win election, and she sat up and she put her foot on it. That is my point. That is why we said we should walk away. What can we call bid for Guyanese? I'm saying born and bid. I always ask that question. They used us, abused us, and even get benched for anything. One time, I challenged them when I was leaving from Guyana back to America. The plane always stopped in Trinidad and tell all of us, get up and going all the way.
Rapper Flash.
For jokes. Yes. They charged me for jokes. I sit down there and say, you're going to kill me because I'm not moving disrespect. We said, why y'all not putting in place in Guyana? And why y'all still doing business in Guyana? If you are saying Guyanese are big out jokes, and they not move, people stand up and everything, me sit down there and say, y'all going to break my hand because you hook me hands. Sorry. CARICOM, we should leave CARICOMs. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. So I returned to Nadir. Is that her name? She asked the question, what y'all do when y'all been in power? It's only waste. Thank God the people them getting some money. Like really? Nadia, where do you live? I asked that question. Where do you live? I would like to know where you live. I'm certain you don't live in this country. I'm willing to bet on that. First, let's be real. For the last 2 years of the coalition in government, they were a sitting duck government. They just been all in place. Because once Charandas betrayed the government and people of this country, the only thing they could have done in government was ensure the day-to-day running of government. They couldn't implement any other projects nor policies. The law stipulated that the budget had to be of a certain amount, a certain percentage of the previous budget. So all of the big ticket projects that were planned by the coalition could not have been executed in any way, shape, or form because the Charandas no confidence motion took the wind out of their sail. And I said it then and I'm saying it again now. The PPP made that move to disrupt the coalition by a no confidence motion because they realized at the rate of development, at the rate of meeting the people's needs that the coalition was going, by the end of 5 years, Guyanese would not have wanted to see anything look like the PPP. Because they were going to realize how much government could have done for them and how much they were deprived. I said it before and I'm saying it again in case you didn't hear it. I'm of the firm belief that the PPP moved a no confidence motion against the coalition government to interrupt their term in office. Because if they had only allowed them to complete that term in office, Guyana and Guyanese would have been so transformed that the PPP would not have had a chance at any election after that. At least not the one immediately after that. So what did the coalition do in its 3 years or 2 years and a half that it had real power in office? It increased public servants' wages. It made public servants feel like they were completed in the society. It catered to the needs of everyone. It addressed the issues affecting our youngsters, our children. It had a breakfast program. It had the books, bags, and several bees program. It improved security. Security is extremely important in any country because citizens need to be safe if they are expected to function and function efficiently. A country needs to be safe. The security apparatus needs to be functioning if it is going to attract foreign direct investments. And so those are some of the things I can think off the top of my head about. That is what they did, Nadira, among other things. I can really sit here and go through a long list, but it doesn't make too much sense because I know y'all really want the answer. Y'all just want to throw stones and run. Now, Dexter Luther is asking if Jordan was now aware of the problems. Ask him to identify what he was talking about. I noticed he said he was talking about the women working at nights doing security work, leaving their young kids at home. The coalition addressed that. And as soon as the PPP went into office, they destroyed the system that was put in place to address that. Governments can't stop people from earning a living in terms of going and seeking employment. Government can't stop people from being single parents. Single parentism comes as a result of choice, whether poor or good choice on the part of somebody. And so we have a society where a lot of our men are absent from the home. So whatever reason, whether it's a woman attitude, whether it's a man attitude, a lot of our men are absent from the homes, but children are left behind. Usually children are left with their mothers because we sure is them picnic. Mommy, baby, daddy, maybe. Most women choose to hold on to their children because they sure is their children. They got some men who gonna fight tooth and nail for those children because they too are sure in their mind is their children. They got others who gonna simply walk away and say, she picked me. Let she deal with it. We have a society where our men have been emasculated. And so when the men get emasculated, women usually step up to fill the gap. And so what has been happening over the years? The private sector, especially in the security sector, a whole lot of our women work there for very many reasons. Number one, the rate of pay that is being offered in the security sector, a lot of the men are not willing to work for it. Or even when men work for the security sector, the rates offered to them is usually higher than the rates offered to women. And so the security is dominated by women because the security company owners obviously would like to pay the lowest rate. It's an indictment on the society, quite frankly. But let's address this thing with a lot of women working security and leaving their children at home. First and foremost, it happens because the other partner, the other parent is absent from the home. The woman got to be provided for, the children got to be provided for. What did the coalition do? Recognizing this as a problem, a lot of our women are out there working security and their children are left unattended. Dexter, do you know that under the coalition there were at least 3 quote-unquote child care centers that were established for women to be able to take their children to those child care centers and proceed on the business of either employment or education? That was a step in the right direction to fix that problem. Because if more women were granted the freedom of going back to school or improving their education because they don't have to stay home and look after the children because there's a facility that they can entrust their children to, at least for the hours that they're either working or learning, it means that some improvement would come to their lives, either by earning money or improving their education to earn more money. So that was a step in the right direction. Do you know that there were several night schools that were established under the coalition so that people who did not have a strong academic background leaving school could have gone back for a second chance and write CXC at no cost to them? So at the end of it all, they stand on a better education footing to get a better job, to earn better pay, to improve their situation. Yes, Dexter, those things were done. Those things were done. Do you know there was a program that was called the Citizen Security Strengthening Program, where young people who were out of school, unskilled, partially educated, had the opportunity to go back to technical and vocational institutions for training, skill training in particular? All of the technical institutes were involved in that program. including the GITC, including the Sophia Special School? Do you know that hundreds or thousands of young people benefited from that kind of programming training? Do you know when they were finished being equipped with the skill, they were offered entrepreneurial education in terms of writing a business proposal, establishing and managing a business, and where there were what I would say successful business proposals selected and funded by the government. And those who were funded by the government were also, what's the word, mentored. Mentors were assigned to them to ensure that they operated their businesses in a professional way that it could grow and be sustainable. Those are some of the things that they did, Luther. There was a SLED program, there was a RATE program, there was a CSSP program. Those three programs are at least designed to improve people's lives. And once our citizens took advantage of them, it means that many of the women who are in the security sector working at nights could have found an alternative to working at nights. The problem with many of us in this society, and by extension, those who are in the diaspora, we nitpick. We nitpick too much, and we defend too much wickedness. Because the PPP did it, the coalition should be allowed to continue doing it. Because the coalition did it, the PPP must be allowed to continue doing it. That attitude can't move this country forward. That attitude cannot improve the lives of our citizens. Once we recognize the wrongs of a previous government, we should hold the next one accountable to ensure that they don't repeat the mistakes of that previous government. What the coalition did, they allowed Guyanese the freedom to talk. Poor people say, make poor man eat salt and rice and wash your mouth for you, or something to the extent, you're doomed. I think that was the problem with the coalition. Every citizen had an opinion. Every citizen expressed that opinion, even to the point of threatening the life of the president. They were not muzzled. They were not harassed for their opinions. And so the coalition, to a large extent, had to be walking on hot coals. Or at least that is how they had to walk. They had to tiptoe. Or they chose to tiptoe. They weren't aggressive and antagonistic to the citizenry. Look at the PPP and see if they are any better or can claim to be as good as the coalition government when it comes to respect and trying to improve the lot of the Guyanese citizenry. Take the whole out here. Forget the race. Forget the allegiance to race and ethnicity and all of that. Forget that you're getting the super of the PPP table. Just be impartial. And do a quick comparison of the PPP in government 23 plus 4 years now. And the coalition in government, effectively 3 years, even if we call it 5. And don't tell me about Burnham or the PNC being in government 28 years prior to that. Because the argument that has always been made is that with the 1992 elections, I hope the year is right, Guyana will return to democracy. So let us return to this era. Let us examine this era of a return to democracy. and compare the two governments, one being there for 23 plus 4 and one being there for 5, and see how Guyanese lives have changed in those periods. Take into consideration the fact that in the 5 years that we're talking about the coalition in government, where they had freedom to act for 3 of those 5 years, and I'm being generous there, they hadn't access to the kind of resources that this PPP has access to. Take that into consideration. Take into consideration that in that 5 years, effective 3, public servants' wages and salaries could have been increased to by about 70+%. Without the kind of resources that we have now. But this government, now earning billions of dollars, or should I say hundreds of billions of dollars, from oil revenue alone, from oil revenue alone, they have not been able to move public servants' wages and salaries by 50% of what the coalition did. And when you take that into consideration, Luther and whoever our name is, I could continue to ask the nonsense questions. But the reality is the reality. We are now a country of plenty because of our resources, but the people remain in poverty. Our children still cannot eat 2 nutritional meals a day. The average citizen still lives on $5.50 US per day. With the market prices, what can you prepare even for a family of 1 with $1,100 a day? The lines remain open. Those people who are calling, y'all could call now. I have to complete my thoughts. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. But I said I wanted to talk about the money business. What will you do? You know, when you look at shows like, what you call it, X Factor and America Got Talent and this and that and the other, they ask you, what will you do if you're the winner of $1 million? What will you do with your 100,000 cash grant? What can you do with your $100,000 cash grant? Let's say a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Citizens deserve more. Citizens should look for more. Citizens should agitate for more. You should continue doing that. But the little that you have, if you manage it properly, you can multiply it. You can multiply it. So yes, $200,000 per household versus $100,000 per individual. Those who have small households might feel cheated. In fact, no, let me change the statement. Because you have to be 18 and older to get your $100,000. So those who have households with a small number of adults might feel cheated. Let's say 1 adult lives in a household even with 4 children, we're talking about single parent here. We like to talk about single parents. So imagine a mother lives in a household with 4 children that are not 18. She gets $100,000. As against if it were given to a household, she would have gotten $200,000. The reality is, in society, policies can't cater for every single situation. It addresses the majority. It addresses the majority. Juxtapose that to the family that has five adults inside, but no children. When it comes to all of the grants, the Because We Care grant and this grant for children and that grant for children and so on, I'm sure they feel cheated too. Because, oh God, we ain't got children, but we can't get them big money. Good. So we have to take that into consideration. What is important for me is the management of the little that you have. We'll talk about that. Caller, thank you for holding. You're on.
Yes, a pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Kadaki, and the listener viewers in the other here and around the world. I can understand that Guyanese still sailing. So much it coalition did in the tenure. And I would mention one thing to close off the whole nonsense. Name a minister within the coalition that visa been revoked and cause all this shameful nonsense what the Bharat and Ali administration caused. And every time they come in is a drug bust. The biggest drug. The only biggest program that they have is drugs and killing. So them who call in and same bull crap, take them for homework and figure it out. The bunch of thief and coward. God bless thee and continue good works on this program.
Thank you for your call.
And get luck that you're being edifying people about what's going on. Thank you.
Caller, you're on. Caller, you're on.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I listened to the program yesterday with Minister and the Finance Minister, Jordan, and he made quite a great impact and sense pertaining to the squatters. And I only hope that he motivated his party to start going out, because we be looking at that to see if they have interest in their own people, to start going and get a list of persons, like we reiterating and we emphasizing on, who are qualified to get this trash grant, and then the country and themselves, because they will be fighting and rowing about a bloated list. Now, this gives us a perfect opportunity to know how much person is eligible to vote. So, I think the oppositions, they should get ESP on the ground and start going through these to these communities, especially their communities, and get a list. So, because it will help them when is the election. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Jordan tells us that childcare centers were opened at Dartmouth and Soddy, Lenora, Linden, Golden Grove, and Ithaca. Right? Do you see discrimination there? I'm just asking y'all, tell me. Because I ain't too bright this morning. Call your life.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes. First of all, Nadiro, I don't think those people live in Guyana and they're not in tune with reality. They just outside, they just run and go out to this country, and then they want to, keep making comments about what this government is doing and so on. Secondly, is that my proposal for the cash grant, right? I think that $100,000 should be given from persons age 18 to 40, right? And from 40 to 60, 150. And from 60 onwards, those are the pensioners who work so hard for this country, right? They should be given $200,000. So I'm saying that this one-off payment of $100,000 is just a tiny hole in somebody's pocket. It's not going to work out. By the time you get $100,000, you go into the market, it's finished. That's my contribution this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be real with you. $100,000 wouldn't be finished in the market. And I'm encouraging you not to finish your $100,000 in the market. You are surviving without your $100,000. You are eating without your $100,000. I'm going to make the point again. You might not have been eating the best meal without your $100,000. But delayed gratification. If you take your $100,000 and you invest it, you see it as capital. Invest it in something, as small as it may appear. It could change your life. At least it might change your life. Take, for example, again, I'm giving you this example. According to the nutritional charts, protein is important for people's well-being and so on. They get protein from fish and eggs and cheese and so on. Eggs are expensive. Invest part of your $100,000 in some Black Giant chicken. They give you eggs and they give you meat. So that's a good source of protein that's running around your yard. You bring them to term, as we might say. You therefore have a supply of protein. You're going to improve the quality of food you eat. You could eat an egg a day. When you're tired of eating an egg a day, you could kill one of the fowl and eat it over a couple of days. The very fowls, you can save some of the eggs and you can put them to hatch. Set the fowl are set. They're going to improve the flock. Increase the number in the flock. I'm saying to you again, small change. Well, how we manage a small change could make a difference in our life. We deserve more. We have to continue to agitate for that. But in the meantime, let us build brick by brick by brick. Call you on. I'll continue that conversation just now.
Morning to that.
Good morning.
I got a quick thing to say. There's an anesthetic that is being administered by an anesthesiologist, which anesthesiologist is it's a racist anesthetic. And what that racist anesthetic to racist people, to people that he administered this thing to, is make them numb to thinking rational, to become rational thinkers. That is what is being administered. You understand? And these people will never get it. And let me say this too. I know I'm not going to talk about the cash grant this morning. To all of you officers that is being fed by him and his ponies, I want y'all to see good. Look good and see how we throw y'all under the bus now. So y'all could continue coming for us and think you're going to get justice when we put pressure on y'all people when you get cash. And that is to the police officers. I want y'all to take a good look. Take a good look and see what is going on. Yet taking no blame. So y'all could continue to hold his secrets. Continue to do his dirty work and them dirty work. Continue to do it and not act against it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your call. You see, a lot of us are moaning and groaning. I'm looking at some of the comments here. $100,000 can't buy food for the month. Yes, but how were you eating before? Why you want this $100,000? Why you want to eat out this $100,000? I don't want to eat mine. And I'm encouraging you. I mean, there's some people who are in real dire straits that they're glad for this $100,000 to eat. But there's some of us who are able to eat, even if not as nutritionally as we ought to eat, or as frequently as we ought to eat. Let me bear strain a little more and invest our $100,000. Call your life.
Morning to that kid, morning, guy. I do agree with what you're saying in reference to the money. But the release, or when they plan to release it, is going to be politically motivated. And what I think we have seen in the past will dictate how the Guyanese people spend the money. And of course, if it's released around Christmas time, we know what the motivation is. If it released next year, we know elections is right around the corner, and they have inside track in reference to when that election is going to hold, then release it. But my question to you and to Guyanese, and especially my African Guyanese people, is what date would we want to put on our total liberation in Guyana in reference to our economic liberation? And this way, with our economics, we can do much more. But I think what's happening is that we're paying a lot of lip service, right? But we're not putting a date on when we think we need, what is it that we need to do. So while the facts on the ground that's being created from the racist mafia, PPP, we are simply just standing by and letting it happen. So that even when we're in power, what do we do, or what plan do we have to uproot, get rid of? Or we're going to be scared to do these things that will actually crush the racists that have laid down so many things in Guyana. And my question is, what date kind of we set it? Is it going to be in the next 10 years, 50 years? By then, the earth isn't going to stand still. The racists will continue to amass millions and billions of dollars. Take, for instance, that Tapui contract and how it was laid out and structured. Now, when we get in power, will we empower our own or be scared to do it? My guess is we would be scared to do it because of we don't want to look racist. So how then, what is the plan for us to be empowered? Not just a percentage here and a percentage there. I believe coalition get into power, the teachers should be given everything that's due. That's my belief. Give them, throw all the money at them. Throw all the money at our people to empower ourselves. And that's my take.
Thank you for your take. Let me tell you all this. Experience teaches wisdom. And if our people don't want to learn from their experiences, along with the guidance that we are giving to them, sad for them. Sad for them. Because, hear me, we had a pink slip experience. A lot of our people didn't get the COVID grant. They ended up with pink slips. Why? They were renting properties with utilities in the landlord's name. If you recognize that that affected you in the past, what do? You try to fix it. You immediately make move to insist in or negotiate with the landlord so that you can have utilities in your name too. If you didn't do that, you're at fault. You dropped the ball. If a man beat you up yesterday, tell yourself that next week he's going to try to beat you again. You need to do something to put yourself in a position to fight back. If you didn't get money the last time because of ID card, then as soon as you realize that affected you negatively, you have a right and responsibility to go and get ID card, so that they can't use that same excuse next time for you to not get money. If you recognize every time they're paying monies out around the Christmas time to fatten the pockets of their merchant friends, you have a responsibility to ensure that your money doesn't go into the pocket of their merchant friends. And so y'all don't tell me when the PPP gonna pay out money close to Christmas. Y'all got a responsibility to keep it in your pocket. Or invest it wisely. I will always stress delayed gratification. Hold them back now. It's going to lead to a greater benefit to you in the near future or in the long term. Yeah. By now, experience has taught us that when the PPP offer you anything, they're offering it as a bribe. They're looking for a reward, a particular outcome out of it. Why can't we deny them that outcome? Because we stupid, we brain dead, we daft, we ain't listening, we can't learn. So y'all stop telling me about when they're paying the money is close to Christmas and who gonna buy curtain with it. For years, 4 years I've been at this program and telling y'all, you don't have to buy curtains every year. I tell you how you could get around the ego business, and ego gonna kill you again because you ain't gonna want to do it. Why you curtains can't left Buxton and go to Puerto Rico at your sister curtains of Puerto Rico come to Buxton is you curtains you can't use. Nobody never saw them on yours before. Why it can't happen? Because ego. Me taking me sister hands me down and me sister taking me hand me down. The hell was y'all? Who believe that you are take your 100,000 and put it in their pocket? Even if I got buy 2 coconut tree with it, I have to be able to look at it in the long term and say, hey, it's the only thing I get from the oil money, but it's bearing fruits now. Call it your life.
Yeah. You know, when you give advice, people must take advice. I could remember I was a nurse and a single parent. And every time we got an increase, I used to tell my children, you see, before we get this increase, we didn't even have the money. And this extra money will come, got to buy 2 pieces of board, you got to buy a pound of nail and everything. Because that's you know where I live in. Me owe the bank a cent, and I live in good. Because I took my hard-earned money and I invested it wisely. At this age in my life, I don't really know how to apply makeup. You would see me walking around, no, you would never see me with a ready-made handbag or a body of Scarlet. That's another name to the Scarlet. Some shipping into the Scarlet when you flying. All my bags to the key, I stood down and I made them. Because when I was a nurse, I had to make my bag. I made my shoes. I made my underwear to make ends meet because I was a single parent. And now that I'm at this age in my life, my elder children would like cry down at me and say, hello, lady, it's a different time. Live to the time that we're in. Don't come here to me with them type of bags, but I still go with them, moving along. Early in the week, somebody called you in from a Thanksgiving to tell you that the people should go ahead and like try to give the install regime a chance because of this 200,000 that they were supposed to give, and because of what these people doing. That is why Mark was up in odds against those persons in the United States that harbor them to say doing friendly talks with Africans in America who originate from Guyana. The people got to understand that this big destruction spill in the police force with all these top dogs going at each other as though they are in a gladiator ring way back when BC and then after Christ at what is going on in the police force. I remember when that policeman brought up things of what was going on, who to get the money and all kind of things. A lot of people jumped down and they were, nothing going on. But Guyanese people mean that things must happen right away because the back culture, soon as what to meet the top of culture, plop, it fall down and it gone down there. But the Guyanese people do not sit to study how long the water takes to meet the top of culture to drop down. And when certain things are going on in this country, they want a quick fix to whatever happens. Now to the thing that asks, what did the government do in 4 years? The government, in less than 15 days into its tenure day, the coalited government with President Arthur Granger, he let the entire world know. And that thing, them two things, so called in a dark stupidness, that Guyana was the latest oil country against the PPP, who knew from since 1999 that Guyana was an oil country. If Granger didn't do nothing, he let the whole world know that he did something. And they get Sharon Dax to destroy the coalition. That when Sharon Dax filed the no confidence motion, they knew that oil, we were to get the first drop of oil. And this the Biden openly told President Granger that he cannot touch the oil money because he must remember that he is a government that has been sanctioned by its own people and they cannot touch the money. You see, when you talk on these things, they look to charge you with cybercrime. But these people who come out on these programs here and put up certain notions, they don't know that we are people, we were educated, we are educated, and we could read through the lines and talk on the truth of the matter. Yesterday, I was glad for the history that Minister Jordan gave about GMCB. That was a befitting history to let the entire world know. At least to talk about Bonham do nothing. He did that. He brought banking to people who could have benefited from it. And by the time they got into power in 1992, they destroyed the bank. They must remember that in the bottom 28 years, he made everybody have the equal playing field. That was Muslims to get 2 religious holidays and Hindus to get 2 religious holidays. They found the leader what it does talk about Jaga Binde. And you know that Muslims were mainly Indians, mainly Hindus. He owned religious sect and he didn't look to do nothing. But instead of that, he ended his reign in blood and fire of 1964. So when you see these good people according to Flash Garden, go to talk, things like that, they must remind themselves about. But they ain't reminding themselves about that. But they're looking to jump down the truth of us and telling us what we do. We did a lot of things. That's why now it got the top dogs and wonder who they going to carry to court and fight cybercrime against with our revealing in the police force. And I hope that when all of this is finished, I want the black people who runs into the PPP government to do the flunk work and junkie work. Come into the PS and all of them. Let them see what is happening to them. They are like slogans that doctors used to use to start nurses. You are like cotton ball swabs. You use and discard. You use a cotton ball swab or take a piece of gauze to clean the wound. You don't clean with gauze. You clean with cotton. You make one wipe and you discard the swab because you should use it back. And this is happening to many of the black people who call themselves that are good in the PPP government. Wherever farm to catch them, whether it's in medicine, it's in law, whatever, use and discard. And many more will face what is going on in the police force. Bye-bye and thanks.
Thank you for your call. I want to tell you all two things. I was talking about the black giant. Somebody asked if I have black giants to sell. No, I don't have black giants to sell. Check with the Guyana Livestock Development Authority. They're the ones who sell black giants. They don't Nari Road or Agriculture Road as we call it. Go down there. They might have. I don't know if they have. Usually you have to put in your order and sometimes you wait forever, especially if you look like me. But they sell black giants. Let me tell you the story of black giant. And this is how government that really have the interest of people at heart think. Our brothers and sisters in the interior, the Amerindians, what do they rely on for the food? In most cases, they rely on their farms. What do they produce in their farms? They get their fresh vegetables and greens and starchy foods, etc., etc. What is their source of protein? They have no real source of protein unless they go hunting and so on and so forth. The Granger government, as far as I remember, said, listen, there are times when, for example, the creeks and rivers, the creeks especially go dry and they can't get fish and so on and so forth. And when it's dry season and I would say game, the wild meat that they hunt and so on migrate to other areas, they can't get access to an adequate supply of protein. Let us take the black giant because it is adaptable and it will survive in those areas, into those communities, introduce it to the Amerindians, and let them rear it as a source of protein. And so that is why it's difficult to get black giant on the coast, because for the greater part, as I remember, the Black Giant project was created to supply protein to the interior regions, the Amerindians. Somebody was asking what the coalition government did. They did that. They did that. So keep that in mind. They did that. Let me see if there's any text message, any voice note. Yes, I see two.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Thank you very much for all the information and being such a patriotic Guyanese. I hope that the $100,000, which is not much money in Guyana, because of the exorbitant prices of the grocery and other things that the people don't take, those who really need it to assist them, they should spend it wisely, and others just invest it, no matter how small it is, invest it. Don't go out there and enrich those wealthy business people use the money wisely, and instead of one up, they should have give 300,000 to each Guyanese every year, or take 10 or 15% off of the oil money, the oil resources, and give Guyanese every year. These people is ridiculous. All they want to do is enrich themselves and their family and friends, and behave like if the resources in Guyana belongs to them. Their foreparents left it for them and not for all Guyanese. What if they remember slavery?
Thank you for that voice note. Here's another.
Good morning, Kadaki. This thing is causing a bit of confusion because those parents now who have more than 2 children that are not adults, which expected at first 200,000, going to get 100,000 now. What I'm saying, let the government give every adult, everyone, $200,000. I mean, it looks like a lot of money for some people because, especially our black people, we think small, our mind is small. We don't know about money. And that is why Jack Joe is taking us with. We don't know money. 100,000 look like plenty, and you will see the hospital ward going full with patients with chop wound after this money been paid out by black people. Give them $200,000 each, because go down Regent Street, not Regent Street, go down Sheriff Street, and other places, you're going to see those big 10-story buildings that have no names putting up there. A lot of have done contract all around the country. The money spending while young kids, ministers' children have big 4x4. Some of them don't reach the age to get driver's license. And you making black people rejoicing over 100,000? Gives them 200,000 every adult. Bye.
Thank you. Let me address this. I said it when it was announced, when Ali changed his position and said, listen, based on information that they gathered, blah, 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 after the announcement of the 200,000 per household, they decided to change it to every adult. I said it. I said that position has been changed because the intention is to influence the youths who make up the majority of the voting population. And so if the money is paid per household, the majority of youths are not head of households, and so they wouldn't get the money. So they ain't got nothing to sing about praising the Ali government. And so that decision was changed. Let us give it to every individual 18 years and older. And so we will capture the young voters in that block. They only know about us in government for the greater part. And so they will do what a lot of them are already doing, singing Ali is the best president because he gave you $100,000. The PPP expects that $100,000 to influence our young people to vote for them, expecting another $100,000 sometime, somewhere. We have work to do as parents. We have work to do as adults. We have work to do as influencers to help our young people to understand that they deserve better and better can be had. Let us stop belittling ourselves and I would say prophesying that we're going to be chopping up one another and we're going to be fighting up one another over $100,000. Let us plant seeds of hope. Let us sit with our people around the table and reason. Share reasoning. How can we use this pittance that is given to us to improve our lot? Hey, you know, every day I'll tell you we just there in this house and sometimes it's salt and rice we eating. Because out of the 10 of us, only 2 working. Let us pool our $100,000 each. We will get $1 million. And if we invest $1 million in some business and we manage it properly, it will bring us money on a daily basis to stop eat salt and rice over a long period of time. But if we decide that, hey, we get $100,000 and we go eat curry chicken and chicken curry with it, it's going to come to an end. It's going to done quick. And we're going to go back to eating salt and rice. Let us sit around our tables and talk about that. Let us sit around our table and examine the fact, listen, we cannot afford to send our daughter who just left secondary school with 10 subjects CXC. She has done better than any one of us has ever done because all of us are dropouts. And she is showing an ability to go higher heights with her education. And education is empowerment. And so the possibility is if we empower her educationally, she can help to pull us out of poverty. Let us pool our money and send her to university. We still going to eat salt and rice at the time. But on the long run, we know that we got a family member who, based on her education, would be able to contribute to the table at some point in time, and we might stop eating salt and rice. In turn, her contributions might help us to send another one off to university or even primary and secondary school so they can get an education. So, Director, whether they listen and take my advice is a matter for them. But at the end of the day, they can't say they weren't advised. How about that? At the end of the day, they can't say they were not advised. They can't bite me ears. Because I sit here and I give them advice free daily. And I'm happy to do it. Don't mind that it costs me. Don't mind and know nothing grades. I still do it. Because at the end of the day, I want to see our people in a better position. Can we live in a house? Let me give this analogy. If you go in the backyard and you strip 1 pointer, you get a pointer. You strip 2 pointers, you get 2 pointers. Individually, you're looking at them. But when you strip and you keep stripping 1 pointer and 2 pointer, and you put them together, you get a whole boom. 1 pointer might not be able to sweep your house. 2 pointer can't sweep your house. But when you strip enough pointer and put them together, you are now in a position to clean your house. They give, see them $100,000 as a pointer. By itself, it can't really do much for you. But if we pool it, it could clean your house. By itself, if we eat it out, we're gone done. But if we pull it, let me get another idea which just came to my head. Guyanese like taxi business. Guyanese like taxi. Guyanese like talk about taxi. Guyanese like cars and buses and so on. Do we have somebody in the home who is working taxi for somebody outside the home? Can we pool our $100,000 together and make a down payment on a taxi for this one family member to work? And so he keeps the money that he was working to give somebody else in the family? Can we bear strain long enough to use that money and pay off for the car quickly? And so that income that now comes from the car can go onto the table? Can we? These are the way we got to think. Let me don't stop all over the money a little bit. It can't buy ration. Yeah, it can buy ration. It wasn't intended to buy ration. It was intended to make you a clone. But show them that the stones that they are throwing at you, you will use them and make stepping stones. Show them that the lemon they pelting at you, you will use them and make lemonade. We know it's chicken feed. Rashid, I see what you're doing there. Rashid, didn't know that? Have a good day. Goodbye. We stop complaining. Half of bread is better than no bread.
Karaki, good morning. And morning to your viewers. Listen, man. I know y'all going around and coming around with this 100,000 and 200,000 with the regime where they're calling out and giving. Winston Jordan coming in and giving the input. Yes, man, but I don't think that gonna work out. The one up thing where they give there for the 100,000 for 18-year-old, and once you're 18, you could get it in a household or whatever. This just for one time because they want the votes. But what happened after that? And y'all listening to Nigel Hughes. Nigel Hughes got the best proposal for the country. Everything that he's putting forward, it's gonna be by law. It's gonna be constitutional, right? And there and then everybody gonna get the option is spending money and knowing to manage the money because they're gonna put things in place. And they're gonna starting from the youth, from the young people. Nigel Hughes' proposal is the best for the Guyana right now. I don't think the PNC got the answer for it. Yes, Mr. Jordan come through and borrow in the regime by coming up with what he know, being an experienced finance person. Yeah, but it just one-time thing can't work. You understand? You want things to be in law and it be in the constitution and be laid out there all the time. And once you bring in the experts to manage and do the forensic audits and these kind of things, and even to the Guyanese culture, it needs a forensic change. It definitely, the whole Guyanese way of living and way of life, it needs a change and need a forensic change. So you want international people to come in and work with them. The United Nations, the European Union, and everybody must come in. You know, Nigel Hughes is the answer for Guyana right now. Out with the PNC, out with the PPP. That's my take. The young people need a break right now. They got so much young people there in the streets, the delinquent and stuff like that. Come on, man. Y'all are seeing Jarchong look like the last part of Bangladesh and India. The last part of Calcutta, Calcutta. This is how Jarchong looking. Depressed, down and out. When you see these videos on the market and run by faggoties, you want to know what's going on, man. Come on. Nigel Youth proposal, 1 million a year. Everybody, you get once you're 18, you get $1 million.
I got a song for y'all.
I hear the building a new flyover down by Uriah Butler, and I'm feeling something. Oh yeah, election coming. I hear the building a super highway straight to Maracas Bay, and I'm feeling something. Election coming. I'm hearing a lot of things, but I ain't seen lots of things. And when the campaign get hot, there's a whole lot of ifs and buts. If we win the election, poor people wouldn't be sorry. If we win the election, everybody will work for money. But when they win the election, the poor man ain't stand a chance. Same amount of suffocation is the same khaki pants. A fella told me a little.
You know why I play that song? You know why I play that song? The problem we got with each other. It's the problem we have with each other. Nigel Youth's proposal of $1 million per person by law. Professor Clive Thomas recommended that several years ago. So because Nigel Youth is, in my mind, repeating it and tweaking it here and tweaking it there, it makes him the best person to run the country. Why we like shiny things like that? They say shiny things the Europeans use and conquer the Amerindians. They give them glass and trinkets and thing and collect the gold and so. Africans are also included. I am sure Nigel is well-intentioned. Like I'm sure Aubrey Norton is well-intentioned. Like I'm sure David Hines is well-intentioned. No one of them is the best thing for Guyana. All of them can contribute something to Guyana. And we pressure them to work together. Let's pressure them to work together. Do we want a one policy wonder in office? A man who seems to be projecting one beautiful policy? Is that one beautiful policy going to do justice for us all the time? What about bringing together all the people who have great policies, and so we have a government of beautiful policies? A feeling something, election coming. It's your promises people get. Y'all falling for them. Your choice, voice note.
Mr. Amsterdam, I want to give God praise and thanks to you. Well, if people's eyes cannot open and they cannot learn with all the teachings, you're getting teachings for nothing. It's like you're in a university. The way you are teaching, the way the patience you have, teaching over and over and over, you saying it and then you reinforcing it. And if people cannot learn, why do you have to take your and just go and eat it out? There are many other things you can sit and make wise decisions before you spend your money. You don't have to just as you get your money run to the shop to buy food and eat. You were eating all the time. And even if you're not going to take all the money, yes, you might need some stuff that you really need in terms of food stuff and so on. But you don't have to take all your money and put it towards food stuff. There must be some dream that you have. You must be dreaming a dream that you want to do. and you could not have done it because you don't have the money. It's now you have a little money. Yes, you can put it together with family members and start a business. Look in your community, see what business is needed in that community, and you start that business. Even though some people don't like to dream their own dreams, when they see you start prospering there, everybody opening the same thing. But start somewhere, and I'm so happy for you, and I pray that God's grace continue to cover you and your family members. God bless.
Thank you for your voice note and your blessings.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. I want to give God praise and thanks to you. Well, if people's eyes cannot open and they cannot learn with all the teachings, you're getting teachings for nothing. It's like you're in a university. The way you are teaching, the way the patience you have teaching over and over and over, you saying it and then you reinforcing it. And if people cannot learn, why do you have to take your money and just go and eat it out? There are many other things you can sit and make wise decisions before.
Call all the line.
Before you spend your money, you don't have to, just as you get your money, run to the shop to buy food and eat. You were eating all the time. And even if you're not going to take all the money, yes, you might need some stuff that you really need in terms of food stuff and so on. But you don't have to take all your money and put it towards food stuff. There must be some dream that you have. You must be dreaming a dream that you want to do, and you could not have done it because you don't have the money. It's now you have a little money. Yes, you can put it together with family members and start a business. Look in your community, see what business is needed in that community, and you start that business. Even though some people don't like to dream their own dreams, when they see you start prospering there, everybody opening the same thing. But start somewhere, and I'm so happy for you, and I pray that God's grace continue to cover you and your family members. God bless.
Thank you for that blessing. Caller your life.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, Guyanese diaspora. Good morning to our Guyanese. I like the fact that when I turn on the internet these days and I go to CAMS TV, I'm seeing a little something extra. It's always been there, but it's in my face. I'm seeing a PNC logo on CAMS TV. Sometimes, and that's very encouraging. That's very encouraging. I almost thought I was looking at a PNC page when I came onto the CAMS page. Now, Dr. Hines, in the last week or two, has been speaking more and more in sync with the PNC, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, particularly when we need that kind of unity. Last week, I saw Nigel Hughes went into the State Department. And I asked myself, what's that all about? What can Nigel Hughes possibly discuss with the State Department that Comrade Leader Norton of the PNC hasn't already given in to Anthony Blinken? Comrade Norton is the leader of the opposition. He is the constitutional elected leader of the opposition. He is the president in waiting. So what is it that Nigel Hughes has to talk to with the State Department about? He is not the opposition leader, so what is Nigel Hughes doing in the State Department? That Aubrey Norton hasn't already done or could do from the embassy in Georgetown. Comrade Norton is in Washington, D.C. or in America every other week. So if there is some need for communicating to the State Department, the opposition leader, the president in waiting, can do that. So it raises the question, what is Nigel Hughes and his team doing in the State Department? That makes me more suspicious. As to what? As to why he's so reluctant of saying that he is uniting totally with the PNC for a coalition.
You see, that raises doubt, and we don't need that kind of doubt. So let's say that Nigel Hughes decides to come on and joins the coalition on November the 6th. And he says he's going to be part of the PNC, a Cummins-Burger Accord, sort of. What does that suggest? That suggests to me that Nigel has something, some secret to discuss with the State Department separately, apart from the PNC and the APNU coalition. Or else, why not take Leader Norton together to the State Department since he's the opposition leader? Right? You see? So it raises a whole lot of doubt, and we don't need that. So it goes back to my equation, my thesis. Is Nigel Hughes hedging that he has 9 to 10 seats and he's going to give them to the PNC, to the PPP? Now, he might not give them outright. But if you heard my question the last time I questioned him on the show, what did he say? I asked him, when he passed the opportunity, if the opportunity presents itself for him to link up with the PPP, his 10 votes, with the PPP's 32 votes, or 33 votes, that would be what, the 2/3 majority. Would he forego, would he pass up that opportunity? You remember his answer? He never said no. He said if the PPP changes. Let me ask you this question. And let me ask Councillor Nigel Hughes this question. Can a death squad regime ever change if they got 1,480 murders on their hand that Roger Khan testified to? So where is the PPP going to get sanitized and clean enough to link up with Nigel Hughes as he answered my question? So is Nigel Hughes saying that he's waiting for a time to come when the murderous PPP will be cleaning enough? Is Nigel sitting around hoping that the entire PPP regime that has been indicted publicly for crimes against humanity, is he waiting for them to clean up their act? You can't clean up murder. Murder doesn't mean. So when will the day come when Nigel would say, yes, I'm ready to do business with the PPP? That was his answer. So how are you running for president? How could he be the best candidate? How could he be the best candidate? I ask you that. Because if you're saying Nigel's the best candidate, then you're saying that PPP is the best candidate. Because he just said that he's keeping the door open for a time when the criminal cabal of the PPP can be on the same page. Can our coalition be on the same page with the indictable accusations that the PPP are faced with? Never. Look at the PNC's proposal. Cash grants. The 50-50 program. You know what that is? $50,000 per month. We're talking cash now. For 50,000 youth. Does Nigel have such a plan? All Nigel telling you is better will come. That's a slave song. Better will come. A promise is a comfort to a fool. Better will come. That's like we shall overcome. Doesn't it sound like that? What does Nigel have to say that he's on board with the people who he claimed that he wants to represent? Rather than side with us now, he has chosen to side with the PPP. Also, listen to his answer the last time he answered my question.
Call it time to wrap up.
He will wait until a time comes when he could align himself with a murderous PPP.
I didn't hear him say that. What time to wrap up?
That was implied. Listen to the answer again. I guarantee you, I'll apologize if he didn't imply that.
He didn't.
He said he would wait for a time when the PPP could change, and then he would align himself with a changed PPP. Can a murderous PPP ever change? That's the question. And there's the answer. Once again, thank you for accepting my vote. And vote for the leader PNC, Arby Norton and David Hans, for the leadership of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to leave you with Joseph Hill, the man called culture. He said elections.
For your praise
Okay.
to be a business. Now I want you to tell the youths up now in the new millennium how long this will continue and how long you believe you have a loss. I wonder why politicians them won't go away. Rasta can't get no peace in this land. I wonder why politicians them won't go away. Rasta can't get no peace on the land. Rasta children run them way, drive them way. When them come talk about election, I have been run them way, drive them way. When them come talk about election, I wonder why the old thief them won't go away. Can't get no peace in a yard. I wonder why old PJ him won't go away. Can't get no peace down a yard. I told them, run them way, run them way. When them come talk about election, I'm happy with that run them way. I have been run them way. When them run come talk about election. Eddie, I wonder why politicians them won't go away. Rastaman can't get no piece of jungle. Wonder why politicians them won't go away. Thinking man can't get no peace in a jungle. Tivoli and jungle unite, drive them way, run them way. When them separate you with election, keeping them a friend, so run them way. Bingy man a run them way. When them come talk about election. As God live, we must unite. You think I never see you when I go to Switzerland, go bank up the people their money? You think I don't know where then you buy places and properties all about where poor people can't read, forget back some of them tax money? Watch it. Depression, frustration, the poor man people, hungry just like you. Frustration, why squad walk like man?